Hello, friends on YouTube. Hi, everyone. Today it's a surprise because Ankita and me are not alone. We have with us a number of people from our Telegram group. We have a huge Telegram group with over 22,000 people, and we have 9:30 p.m. polls every day just by our YouTube channel, and 9:30 p.m. polls also people have passed. Some of the people who have joined us on Zoom are our YouTube babies. They follow us on YouTube, and many of them have cleared this time. And all of them are doing 9:30 p.m. polls. So I just invited them over. If you want, you come and join us on Zoom today, we said. And they are here. We have Anandita, Annakamachi, Aruna, Gopiga, Lakshmi, Ramya, Rija, Rimple, Ria, and Sheila with us. So today is our TN set and Telangana set countdown again. We are asking you questions. This is the 8th session, and we will give you questions, and we will also ask you more questions based on this. Shall we start, Ankita?
Yes, yeah.
Excited. Okay, Vasanthi has also joined us. Guys, you can tell us the answers in the chat box. And if you want in between, you can speak about, your association with English literature and something about the author or about your association with Tess, Vallath, whatever. And some of you have cleared net and you can talk about that if you want. So here we go. First question. I heard a fly buzz when I died. This is the opening line of a poem by Dash. Ankita, take over.
Yes. So this is the opening line of a poem by whom? Is it by Elizabeth Bishop, Sylvia Plath, Anne Sexton, or Emily Dickinson? So it is a very popular opening line of a poem by the American poet Emily Dickinson. And it is a very popular example also of how she mixes the very ordinary, like the fly, with something very profound, like death. It's a very popular poem. And Emily Dickinson, as for any exam, it is very, very important to look up the poems of these poets. Sylvia Plath and Sexton, they're very popular confessional poets, and also Elizabeth Bishop and Emily Dickinson, very, very important poets.
Very good. Yes. Uh, Emily Dickinson's poems usually never had a title. They were all known by the opening lines. Dear friends on Zoom, would you like to tell us your favorite poem by Emily Dickinson? Dear viewers on YouTube, we have today on Zoom a lot of people who have joined us. Some of them are our YouTube friends, some of them are from Telegram. I've opened the chat to you. Please tell us your favorite poem of Emily Dickinson. I personally love I Hear a Funeral in My Brain. Everybody must have heard of Because I Could Not Stop for Death, He Kindly Stopped for Me, right? I also like the poem A Bird Came Down the Walk. Zoomers, feel free to tell us. Anandita has already typed Emily Dickinson in the chat box. Yes, Sheila loves Because I Could Not Stop for Death. It's a beautiful poem. What imagination, right, Ankita?
Yes.
Given that it's the 19th century. Her poems are replete with imagery, and as you all know, she talked a lot about death and immortality and also creativity. I heard a high buzz when I died. It's about that moment of death, which is she's not terrified of. She is just feeling, like she's moving from one phase to another. Okay, let me ask you another question, which is the sobriquet or the name with which she was called. She was called Dash of Dash. Zoomers and YouTubers, please feel free to tell us which is the sobriquet or the name with which she was called. Anybody would like to speak? You can also speak on the mic. It is None of Amherst. She was called None of Amherst. Right? Emily Dickinson was called. Right. In on Apple TV, there is a series on Emily Dickinson, but it is so unlike the real woman. This is a teenager drinking and having fun like that. Emily Dickinson is depicted. Right. We'll move on to the next one. Maybe somebody will feel like talking about this.
Yeah.
Arrange the following sonnet sequences in the correct chronological order. Ankita?
Yes. So here we have some of the major sonnet sequences ever written. So first, Spenser's Amority, then Samuel Daniel's Delia, then Lady Mary Roth's Pamphylia to Amphilanthus, and lastly, Falke Greville's sonnet sequence, Celica. So now you have to arrange this in the correct sequence.
Even if you know some of these, you will be able to answer. Celica is Fulke Greville, and Fulke Greville is Sydney's biographer. So Amority and Celica might come first, right? The
Yes.
answer is
So
no,
Delia. Delia.
Delia came. Delia came first. Samuel Daniels Delia. Delia, Amority, Pamphylia to Amphilanthus. Oh, Silica came last. That is
Yes.
new. Yes. People on Zoom, please tell us the major writers who wrote sonnet sequences. Yes, YouTubers. Aruna is reminding me we have a code at Vallath to remember Samuel Daniels Delia. Danielia. Constable Henry Constable wrote Diana. Giles Isia, that means Giles Fletcher wrote Lycia. And Drayton Idea, that means Drayton wrote Idea. Yes. Everybody knows the sonnet sequence by Sydney, Astrophil and Stella. What is the sonnet sequence written by D.G. Rossity? Anybody? D.G. Rossity's sonnet sequence. It is House of, not House of Fame, House of Life. Right. And do you know the sonnet sequence written by George Meredith? Sonnet sequence written by George Meredith. It is Modern Love. Modern Love. Okay. I think it was Thomas Lodge who wrote the sonnet sequence Phyllis. Is it Thomas Lodge? I'm not very sure. There are many people who wrote sonnet sequences. Of course, there is also Shakespeare. Right. Sonnet is a 14-lined poem that is part, it's a kind of a lyric poem. And do you know the first practitioner of sonnets in the world? He's an Italian called Giacomo di Lentini. I learned this because it was asked in a set recently. Giacomo di Lentini is the first practitioner of sonnets in the world. It is there in Wikipedia. And the poet Dante also wrote sonnets. To whom did he address his sonnets? Anybody? To whom did Dante address his sonnets? Dante addressed his sonnets to Beatrice. Beatrice. To whom did Petrarch address his sonnets? Very good. To whom did Petrarch address his sonnets? Yes, that's correct. Laura. Ria and everyone, Lakshmi, you can answer to everyone, okay? So that people can see your answers. All right then. Shall we move on, Ankita?
Yeah.
Over to you.
So now you have to choose the wrong statement. So here we have 4 statements about various magazines and periodicals. First, the Tatler 1709 to 11, the Spectator 1711 to 12, and the Guardian 1713. All 3 of these magazines were established by Addison and Steele. Next, in 1731, the Gentleman's Magazine first came out and was to last until 1907. Next, the Quarterly Review, a Whig publication, began in 1809 and is still published. And lastly, London Review was a Tory periodical, so which is wrong.
Definitely, Quarterly Review was not a big publication. It was a Tory publication. You're right, Angeline, because Quarterly Review and Blackwood's Magazine attacked Keats. When you get questions like this, don't get distracted by all these details. There will be a simple detail that you should know. That will be the answer. All right? So just don't worry about it. Read carefully and maybe you will easily find the mistake. Quarterly Review and Blackwood's Magazine were Tory magazines that attacked Keats, whereas Edinburgh Review was a Whig magazine and it attacked the conservative Lake poets. Right. Okay. Do you know which is the magazine started by Daniel Defoe? That is simple. Lakshmi, I'm muting you. Okay. Anybody? Yes, that's right. It is review. People are answering in Zoom, on Zoom also. YouTubers, you should also answer. Yes, it is the review that was started by uh, Daniel Defoe. Who started the periodical, The Rambler? Who started the periodical, The Rambler? It is indeed Samuel Johnson. It is indeed Samuel Johnson who started the periodical, The Rambler. Very good. Now, do you know the periodical of which George Eliot was an assistant editor? George Eliot or Mary Ann Evans was the assistant editor of which periodical? It is Westminster Review. Westminster Review. Also, which is the magazine started by, periodical started by Thackeray? Periodical started by Thackeray. It is Cornhill Magazine. Cornhill Magazine. All right, guys, next question. Ankita.
Postmodern Blackness is an essay by Dash that explores the relationship between postmodernism and the reconstruction of Black identity. In the essay, the author argues that postmodernism can be a way for Black people to reset their subjectivity. So it is by W.E.B. Du Bois, Paul Gilroy, Bell Hooks, or Angela Davis.
Angeline is saying, is it A? It is Bell Hooks who wrote Postmodern Blackness. African American writers who are critics is a very important area for all exams. They will ask you questions based on this. You all know Souls of Black Folk is by W.E.B. Du Bois, I suppose. He's the one who coined the term double consciousness. And Paul Gilroy wrote Black Atlantis. Angela Davis wrote about prisons, the politics of prisons. So these are very important writers, but they may ask you even more obscure writers also in exams. So today itself, if possible, start looking up on African American critics, including LGBTQ and such areas also. Okay, Ankita.
Bhanusimha Thakurer Podaboli is a collection of Vaishnava lyrics composed in Brajabali by Dash. And it was published in 1884. So who wrote it? Is it by Ravindranath Tagore, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Madhusoodan Dutt, or Derozio? It's a collection of Vaishnava lyrics by Ravindranath Tagore. And please remember the years as well. It was published in 1884.
Very good. Which is the novel by Rabindranath Tagore, where a boy is a fanatic Hindu but discovers that he's actually the son of an Irish woman? Tell me, anybody? It is yes, Sheila said it. It is the book called Gora. Gora. Who published the edition, 1913 edition of Gitanjali, that won Nobel Prize? Who is the publisher? It is Macmillan. Macmillan. The publisher is Macmillan. W.B. Yeats wrote the introduction to it. And he got it in 1913. Very good. Do you know who among these writers wrote Letter to Amherst? Letter to Amherst. Letter to Amherst is indeed by Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy is the author of Letter to Amherst. That is very good. Do you know To the Pupils of Hindu College is a work by To the Pupils of Hindu College. Yes, it is Henry Derozio. He was from Hindu College. Michael Madhusudan Datta was also from Hindu College, actually. Michael Madhusudan Datta wrote Meghanad Bathakavya, Ratnavali, Tilotama, etc. Right. Ankita, what is this?
So yes, we have already told you about our NET course, which is going on right now. And if you are preparing for the June NET exam of this year, do enroll for our NTA NET course. It's a 6-month course, and it started from January 13. It's going on right now. And if you join us now, you will get lifetime access to all our recorded sessions and also live sessions, many PDFs, even our encyclopedias, and lots of quizzes and revisions for intensive practice. So do join us.
Whatever you have missed in 1 month, you will be able to get as recordings. We will also do revisions for the people who have now joined newly. And those who have got NET or PhD eligibility right now should study really hard to pass JRF. What matters is not only passing the exam, but real knowledge that will help you in your career. Without that, it will be difficult. So just reminding you that. Ankita?
Arrange the following events in King Lear in the correct chronological order. The victorious British leaders meet, and the recently widowed Regan now declares she will marry Edmund. Edgar, in his madman's disguise, meets his blinded father on the heath. Kent tells a gentleman that a French army has landed in Britain, aiming to reinstate Lear to the throne. And then Edmund learns from Curran, a courtier, that there is likely to be war between Albany and Cornwall, and that Regan and Cornwall are to arrive at Gloucester's house that evening. So the events here are scattered of King Lear. You have to arrange these events in the correct sequence.
We are just reminding you that it is possible that sometimes you get questions like this by which they will check whether you have read the play and you know the play in detail, but only for the major classics. And Shakespeare is a very good candidate for such questions. The answer is given here. Ankita, would you like to explain again?
Yes. So in Act 2, we see that Edmund learns from Curran, a courtier, that there is likely to be a war between Albany and Cornwall. And then Act 3, Kent tells a gentleman that a French army has landed in Britain. In Act 4, Edgar is in a madman's disguise. He disguises as Tom Bedlam, and he meets his blinded father on the heath. And lastly, in the last act, there is Act 5, the victorious British leaders meet, and the recently widowed Regan declares that she will now marry Edmund. So this is the correct sequence of these events.
I was going to say that it's extremely important that you read detailed summaries of the major text, if not the text itself. When you attend our courses, we give you a very good structure of the text. We give you the foundation. It's very easy for our students to build on this foundation. If you study on your own, you'll have to do that much extra work, that's all. So please don't forget to do that. The phrase dark satanic mills originates from William Blake's poem. Ankita?
Yes. So this phrase can be found in which poem? Is it Jerusalem, The Chimney Sweeper, Holy Thursday, or London? This phrase can be seen in Jerusalem. It is a poem which critiques the contemporary industrialization that was happening and also the impact it was having on the surrounding environment. And it's a very important imagery which has been extensively discussed by all the Victorian scholars as well. That why dark satanic mills. So Jerusalem, it's a very important poem by William Blake, which critiques the industrialization, the exploitation which the working class was suffering back then, and also how the industrialization was impacting the environment. You know, the English countryside was changing gradually. So it talks about all these things, this poem, Jerusalem.
Jerusalem is a short poem, but he has written a big prophetic book also called Jerusalem. Jerusalem, or the emanation of the giant Albion. That is one of his prophetic books. The other prophetic book is Milton. William Blake admired Milton in which book, Ankita?
The Marriage of Heaven.
Marriage of Heaven and Hell. He says that Milton is the devil's party without knowing it. And he also talked about the mistake that Milton made in making hero look like a Satan, look like a hero, sorry, in making Satan look like a hero. So he tried to correct it in his prophetic books. Now, do you know, guys, which American writer had a Blake vision? He started hearing Blake's voice and, reciting Blake's poetry, etc. Which American poet had a Blake vision? Yes, it is Allen Ginsberg. It's Allen Ginsberg. Very good. Now, Urizen, Urtana, Lava, and Thermas. What are they in Blake's prophetic story? I mean, the prophetic vision. Urizen, Urtana, Luva, and Thermas. What are they? They are the four Zoas, Zoas. Who is the universal man in Blake's personal mythology? Who is the universal man? It is Albion. Albion. Right. Among these poems, which of these appeared in both Songs of Innocence and Songs of Experience? Both. Two different poems with the same title. It is the Chimney Sweeper. The Chimney Sweeper. Very good. Right. So we just talked about dark satanic mills. Now, Ankita,
A lemon is a rich and sensual meditation on the beauty, mystery, and essence of a simple fruit, the lemon. So it is a poem by whom? Is it by Derek Walcott, Pablo Neruda, Octavio Paz, or is it by Federico Garcia Lorca? It's a wonderful, wonderful poem by the Chilean poet Pablo Neruda.
Pablo
Wonderful, cute
Neruda.
poem.
Yeah. Pablo Neruda has also written an ode to onion, lemon, onion. Ode to onion is also a very beautiful poem and a very important poem. Pablo Neruda wrote the Book of Twilight. And a very famous poem that he wrote that is prescribed is Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Tonight I can write the saddest lines. Do you know which of these writers was killed during the reign of Mussolini? Which of these writers was killed during the reign of Mussolini? It is Federico Garcia Lorca, who wrote The Blood Wedding. Which of these writers lived in India for some years as the ambassador to India? Which of these writers lived in India as the ambassador to India? It is Octavio Paz. About Hanuman, he wrote The Monkey Grammarian. The Monkey Grammarian. Right. Ankita?
Arrange the following universities in the correct chronological order. Universities that were established in India during the British Raj. University of Punjab, Allahabad University, University of Mysore, and Patna University. These types of questions have been repeatedly asked across the years. So please be very careful about this chronology. Yes. So first we will have University of the Punjab, I think then Allahabad, then Mysore, then Patna.
Right. Even before all this, there was the University of Calcutta in 1857. And the oldest university in India, if you ask me, is Nalanda. Right. Ankita?
Oh, yes, I know the way to heaven was easy. We found the little kingdom of our passion that all can share who walk the road of lovers. In wild and secret happiness, we stumbled, and gods and demons clamored in our senses. These lines were written by whom? Wilfred Owen, Robert Graves, Siegfried Sassoon, or Rupert Brooke. So these lines have been written by Siegfried Sassoon in his beautiful poem, The Imperfect Lover. Lovely poem.
The Imperfect Lover. Thank you for giving us these lines. It's beautiful. Simple question. Who wrote the poem Dulce et Decorum Est? Dulce et Decorum Est. The same guy wrote The Strange Meeting. Yes, it is Wilfred Owen. Do you know who wrote The Soldier? The Soldier. It is by Rupert Brooke. Rupert Brooke wrote The Soldier. Right. The White Goddess is a book of poetic inspiration by The White Goddess. Robert Graves, that is very important. The White Goddess. Very good. Okay, Ankita.
Which detective among the following used the method of ratiocination to solve the criminal cases? Is it Hercule Poirot, Sherlock Holmes, Auguste Dupin, or Adam Dalgliesh? So, ratiocination refers to a mixed method of using your intellect as well as your creative imagination. And this method was famously used by Auguste C. Dupin, the detective character created by Edgar Allan Poe. And for the first time, he had appeared in the short story The Murder in the Rue Morgue.
Right. And in the Purloined Letter, he's connecting this, thinking in a certain direction. That is called ratiocination. Exactly thinking in the correct manner. That is called ratiocination. Who created the character Hercule Poirot? Tell me, who created the character Hercule Poirot? It is Agatha Christie. Very good. And who created the character Sherlock Holmes? Who created the character Sherlock Holmes? It is Arthur Conan Doyle. Right. And who created the character Adam Dalgliesh? It is P.D. James. P.D. James was a woman writer. Right. Very good. Who created the character Father Brown? He's also a detective. Father Brown. It is Chesterton. Very good. Chesterton. Right. Ankita.
It is a conversation poem which discusses Coleridge's childhood experience in a negative manner and emphasizes the need to be raised in the countryside. This poem expresses hope that Coleridge's son Hartley would be able to experience a childhood that his father could not and become a true child of nature. Which poem is this? The Aeolian Harp, Frost at Midnight, This Lime Tree Bower My Prison, or Fears in Solitude? It is Frost at Midnight, which talks about Coleridge's hope that one day his son would become a true child of nature and would grow up in the lap of nature.
It is very famous that Frost of Midnight is addressed to Coleridge's son, Hartley David. And this Lime Tree Bower My Prison is addressed to Charles Lamb. It is addressed to Charles Lamb. In Aeolian Harp, he talks about one life. All these poems are, what are they called together? What are these poems part of? Tell me in the chat box. Yes, these are all conversation poems. All of them are conversation poems. Which poem is a conversation poem as well as an Azara poem? Azara poems were addressed to Sarah Hutchinson. Dejection and Ode is a conversation poem as well as an Azara poem. Okay, Aishwarya, Dhanishri, Fasna, Geetu, welcome. So many of you have joined us. We were talking at the beginning before going live. Supriya, Vasanthi, Ghanshyam, are you enjoying the session? Good evening. I hope this is useful for you. I'm so glad to have you here. Okay, so this is about our NTNet online course. It is a very useful course. It is, I would say, 100 times better than studying on your own because you get our experience, you get our method, which has been developed over many years. And towards the exam, we will give you so much tremendous support that you will be able to easily pass the exam. You will get our voice in your head when you're writing the answers and things like that. So this is the notification for the course. You can still join. Now we have come to the end of the PDF, and I will end the session for the YouTubers, and we'll have a conversation on Zoom. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, everyone. I'm ending.